Yo, Jack. Alrighty. What's up? What's up? Wait, Jack, can you talk for a sec? I don't think my Zoom is picking up audio. Yeah. No, you're on mute. Okay. Yeah, no, my stuff is busted. Give me 1 second. Hello? Your stuff's good, bro. My new PC, my first game I'm running. Here, go into your Zoom settings. And are you in your Zoom settings?
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Pierce.
Uh,
Give us 1 sec. Trying to fix Jack's setup. So once you get to settings, you're gonna go, yeah, audio, and then it should be microphone, and then just switch it around until you see it. Okay, cool. All right, cool. Cool. We'll just give it a couple minutes to let everyone come in. How's everyone doing so far?
exhausted.
Those
Doing
agents are
well.
getting to you, huh?
Yeah, the agents don't play.
You're calling in Alabama, right, Pierce?
Yeah.
Nice. Cool. How's it going, Seth? Can you hear me?
Yeah, good man.
Cool.
Doing well. How you doing, Alex?
I'm chilling, man. Just had back-to-back classes and many phone calls, so
Nice. Where are you calling in from?
I'm out of Los Angeles,
Nice.
unfortunately.
I should be there in like 2 weeks.
Really? For what?
Um, just kind of going.
Cool,
No
man.
real reason. Yeah,
We
I
should
should be there.
actually I might be gone in 2 weeks from now, but if you're in town when I'm in town, we should
Yeah, I'm there the 23rd to October 6th, so
okay,
I'll keep you posted.
cool. I think I'll be gone until the 26th, from the 22nd to 26th, but maybe when I get back.
Nice.
What's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is weird because I'm talking, I see myself, but I'm on my phone because my new PC cannot pick up audio. So I'll just mess with that later. But how's everyone doing?
Good man, doing well.
Good.
Awesome. Cool, cool, cool. Great. Who we got on the call here? Nice. Right on. So yeah, this structure here today, we're just going to kind of do it similarly to the first call. I think there's only a handful of people that are in this call that were on the first call. It's going to be more so just like a check-in Q&A type of deal. And then once we start doing these regularly, we're trying to do these 2 or 3 times a week. We'll actually have like topics we're going to be going over and maybe underwriting deals together and things like that. But now since we're kind of just starting out, it's mainly just going to be more of a kind of round robin Q&A type of deal. And yeah, I mean, anyone want to start us off here and let us know kind of how their week's gone so far and any sort of questions or things like that? We can start
Uh,
with, I'll
ba
just go.
basically with me, I mean, I'm just calling every day. Uh, I wake up at about 7 every morning. The only problem with me is just communication. I feel like most of the leads that I call just steers them away, but that's just something that I need to get better at.
What do you mean by you steer them away?
I guess it's not helping them understand it fully. Um, it depends what objection it is. I might just not know how to overcome that objection. Sometimes it's just nerve-wracking, I guess. I've never been a salesperson, so uh, yeah.
Yeah, what off the top of your head do you know of an objection that kind of stumped you where you're like, oh shoot, I don't know exactly what to say? Or has it kind of just been getting
Mm,
used to making calls and just speaking with agents and doing this stuff in general?
yeah, that's what it is. Every day I feel that I'm getting better.
It's awesome.
To where I don't really have to read off anything at all. It's just kind of off my head. But yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, it's gonna come with time. Because when I
Yeah.
started doing the cold calls like a year ago, it was, oh shit, like I didn't feel super comfortable and confident doing it. Where now it's like it's not even something I think of when I'm on the phone speaking with agents or sellers or really anyone. So it'll definitely come the more time you do it. I mean, same with anything. But if there are any specific questions you had in terms of objections or things like that, happy to answer them and go over anything as well. Then I guess one thing before we go around and go over everyone, just in case some people decide to dip out and whatnot on us, I guess we should cover, Alex, what we're going to be sending out the JV agreement to everybody.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to touch on that. We plan on sending out a JV agreement between us and you guys to kind of protect ourselves, and both you and I, we want to make sure everyone's getting paid for deals that are happening. And so it's just another level of protection and a way to legitimize our relationship and make sure both sides are being held accountable.
Yeah, so we'll be emailing that out within the next 24 hours or so. Yeah, and that's pretty much just going to be just stating the terms of the relationship. Hey, if you find a lead and we close on it, that'll be $1,000 finder's fee. One thing that I know we've all kind of discussed, I know we spoke with pretty much almost everyone. I know there was a handful of people though that didn't have that conversation. We just did a lot of texting back and forth, but pretty much we're trying to make this more of an active community in terms of people that are consistently actively trying to do this and be a part of this, not just someone who's, hey, I joined this group, let me just chill in the group and check in every 3 weeks, because that's what a lot of the free Facebook groups are like someone will say, hey, I want to do this, and then they click join after looking at their Instagram ad that talked about creative finance, and then they're gone, and don't look at the group anymore in 3 days. So me and Alex are talking. I don't know where exactly we're going to cap it, but we're going to cap it and then also offboard too, because I'm sure out of whatever the 30 people we have in there right now, there's a decent percentage that probably aren't going to be super active in a week from now. So we're just trying to keep it being like an active group of people that are really trying to, do this for themselves, to learn more about this, make some money, and then eventually, end up building out their own portfolio and doing this stuff like we're trying to do. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to add to. So that'll be in there as well. Basically just stating, hey, you're going to get paid your finder's fee through escrow. We basically just have it as a management fee, sort of verbiage like that in the closing documents, and then you'd be mailed a check. I know there are some people that are out of the US. So I will have to talk with Alex further on that, and also the title company.
Okay, I don't hear anything. Is that just me?
That's probably just you. Unless it's showing me muted right now and you're like, well, no, she'd still be able to hear me.
Okay.
Oh, I guess she can hear me, right? Can you hear me? I'm not sure who just spoke.
Yeah, that was me, Sunny.
Sunny, okay,
it just seemed
perfect.
to go blank all of a sudden, and then it was
Okay.
like I got nervous that I lost connection. Sorry.
Gotcha. No worries. Maybe it's just lagging a little bit there. Yeah, so I know there were a couple people that were international in here. So that's just, I'm wondering, could we mail a check to you guys through escrow at closing? My assumption is I don't see why not. But of course, I'd have to check on that. Worst case scenario would be something through, that we could send through PayPal or Venmo, Zelle, whatever it is. I just want to avoid that though, because then that's something we have to keep track of in terms of bookkeeping and taxes and stuff like that. Where if we can just do everything through title and escrow, just paying you guys a fee directly, that would be ideal,
I'm sure
right? I
we'll
mean,
figure out something where we're going to be also wiring the $1,000 finder fee if a mailed check doesn't work.
very true, very true. Yeah, we could totally do that. And what was the other thing I wanted to touch on? So that was one of them. And then also, yeah, I don't know if you want to. Everyone will see it. I don't know if we want to screen share that document, and just touch on things, or it's pretty self-explanatory, honestly. But we just want everyone to sign that, just so we're protected, and then you guys are protected too. So that'll be sent out in the next 24 hours. And yeah, well, were you going to screen share that, Alex, or no? If not, I can pull it up, or we could just.
Let me.
Sorry, I just saw your face light up like you were on another monitor or something. Like, oh, is he pulling it up right now?
So this is the agreement. We're gonna send it over to everyone and also paste it in the Discord server just so everyone could read it. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out and see how we could go over it with each other. It's pretty self-explanatory. Everyone should be able to read and understand the verbiage that we use. So if you have any questions, just feel to reach out and we'll see how we could help you understand it better.
Yeah, I just had one question on the lists. I know that I kind of just signed up yesterday and got sent some of the Loom links. Are we pulling these ourselves, or is there? You mentioned that you might be working with a VA to pull some of these lists to send over to us. I just want to know what the best way of getting my hands on those would be.
So that's one thing that's probably on my end that I need to get better about explaining that. So if someone has prop stream themselves or something like that and they want to pull their own lists, we have a video in that Loom. That's still there, right, Alex, with us showing how to pull a list on prop streaming, the criteria we're looking for.
I
So
believe
we have, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so we have that, but ideally, if you don't have prop stream or anything like that, or if you don't want to mess with pulling lists, you could then go in the Discord and shoot.
Is
You
there a
want to
request list here?
Yeah, there's a
So I
request
just
list.
saw that, but I wasn't sure if that was it.
Yeah, so there's going to be a request list there in the Discord where you just hit create ticket, and then that would notify Alex and I that you just created a ticket. And that was my first time just clicking create ticket. You saw that pop up, Alex. Alex is handling a lot of the back end stuff, which I appreciate. Trying to just make it systemized and very organized, so that's a lot more efficient than what we had before. So yeah, if you need a list, you would just go into that request list and click that, and should get a list sent out to you pretty shortly.
And then you guys, like, I'm creating a ticket. You guys are going into PropStream, doing it yourselves, or how does that work? And how much is PropStream?
PropStream's like 100 a month or something.
Okay.
Right? Is that right, Alex?
Yeah,
100
so
a month.
about $100 a month. I think it's actually 99, but yeah. So we'll pull the list off PropStream and share it with you after you create that ticket.
Got it.
And yeah, there's really no necessity to have PropStream right now. The main thing that I use PropStream for is comping. PropStream is really good to comp. That's one of my favorite tools I use, just because the interface is really good in my opinion compared to some of the other tools out there, and also for the list pulling as well. Was that all we wanted to cover then, Alex?
Right now?
Sorry, what was that? The audio cut out there a bit.
Zillow. That's the best thing to use for right now.
Zillow for what exactly?
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit late. I thought we were talking about the list and how to kind of like look up, because I like to look things up as I go through the list.
Yeah, Zillow would be the best way to look those up and just see what the properties look like and just make sure, because the PropStream data isn't always 100% accurate. Sometimes there are some inconsistencies in there, whether it's the phone number of the agent or if it's still for sale or not. Usually it's pretty accurate, but yeah, always just copy and paste that and look it up on Zillow. And yeah, you'd be able to actually see pictures of the property and whatnot on there. So for that purpose, yeah, Zillow would be perfect just for looking those up while you're making those calls.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, no problem. And anything else we wanted to kind of touch on, Alex, before we just kind of started doing a check-in with people and going down the line?
In terms of your list, like Jack had just mentioned, before calling whatever number is on the spreadsheet, I would definitely look at Zillow. make sure the property's not either under contract or that even the agent's phone number is correct. I've noticed with PropStream, sometimes their data is a little off. So just double checking and confirming that you're calling on the right number and that the property is still for sale is something I'd recommend you guys do. And then just another thing to touch on is if an agent doesn't pick up the first time, don't be afraid to double dial them. A lot of calls I make, if the agent doesn't pick up the first time, I'll call them again. I wouldn't do more than 3 times because on that third time, if they pick up, they're going to be a little crabby. So just after that second call, if they don't pick up, I usually send them a text saying, hey, is this property still available? If it is, great. I'd love to speak with you on the phone as soon as you get a chance. Go from there.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one thing to mention too. Like I was just talking to Alex about this today, and not to throw shade on real estate agents. There's some that are very hardworking and great to deal with. And then 90% of them seem like I'm almost trying to force them to make money, which is like why it's important to follow up. And like he said, sometimes even double dialing, because there's some where it's like, hey, their property's been sitting on market for over 2 months and they're complaining about how long the listing's sitting there. But then we're trying to make offers and it's like we're playing some sort of game to try to get the offer to the seller and get things moving along. So follow up and consistency is really important and key as well. Yeah, so that's kind of the last thing that I wanted to add there. Pierce, you already kind of shared what was going on.
Do you guys find that like most agents are aware of sub 2 or type of creative financing, or are you finding that like a lot of them, this is the first that they're hearing about it?
It's really going to vary. So like when I'm calling people in Dallas, Phoenix, Vegas, those really saturated larger markets, they're getting tons of calls about sub 2. Whereas I call someone in like a C market in Texas with a population of less than 40 or 50K. There's some agents I've spoken with that are like, what is that? I've never heard of this. So it's kind of a broad, hard to answer scenario, but pretty much in all even in the major metro markets, I still occasionally ran across agents who aren't familiar with it, don't know what it is. A lot of them kind of now, I think Alex, you'd probably agree with this. I've heard the term subject to, well, I've heard of it. I've never done it. I get kind of a lot of that. Does that coincide with what you experience, Alex?
Yeah, I would say it's honestly just a mixture of the market and whether the agent had conversations about subject to. There's an agent yesterday I got off the phone with Ronald, and the agent had been in business for 23 years and was like astonished by this type of deals. And so you're gonna get people that don't know what you're talking about, and you're gonna have people that do. It's just knowing who you're talking to and making sure you're presenting it in a way that the agent is truly able to understand is really important.
Yeah, even brokers too, man. Like that lead we're working on from Chris, that one right outside of Fort Worth. Like that lady's a broker and she had heard the term but had never done a deal before, and she's been doing real estate for 20 years. And then there was a call that I had like last week with some guy in a small town in Texas, and he has his own brokerage out there with like a team of 15 under him. And when I was talking with him, well, I don't think it's so hard to do assumptions around here. I'm like, it's not an assumption. This is a subject to. And then like 3 other times, assumption, where we had to take a huge step back because the guy I was working with who brought me the lead didn't really clarify the whole explanation. So I had to send him like an email template with a bunch of video links and explanations and showing how it's legal and how it's been done for decades, and really going in and explaining it because he had no clue what it was. And he'd been doing deals for over 20 years. So you're going to get a big mix.
Right. And when, like, I mean, one way or another, you're getting to the point where you're explaining like what a subject to is for people that aren't aware. Are you like going into like the pace explanation of like a truck scenario, or do you have your own form of explanation? I feel like an analogy is probably like the best way to, I don't know, help people understand the concept, but curious to hear, how you found or what route you're doing to explain.
Yeah. Don't you use that truck analogy, Alex, or no? I'm trying to remember. I think you're telling me to.
I personally don't use it, but I mean, using third-party stories and analogies that make sense with what you're trying to explain is one of the best ways to explain things to someone, just from personal experience. After hearing some analogies, it just makes things click easier. And especially trying to understand something you've never heard of before, using terms that you are familiar with will really help you understand it.
Yeah, and I personally don't really use the analogy for the sub-to explanation. I more so use the analogies for, hey, this problem here is similar to a deal I just did 2 weeks ago, and then I do the analogies there. More so, I'm more technical in terms of, hey, this is how we're doing this is how it works. If you have any specific questions, then I can leverage other assets I have with agents I've done deals with previously, closing attorneys. And then also we have like some templates and other videos that we email out if these agents want a little more information or things like that. But usually we're able to kind of clear it up all on the phone and make them understand that, we're just taking over the payments on that mortgage. The debt is going to stay in that actual seller's name. They don't have to worry about, the property or anything like that. And then just most of the common objections are DTI. What if they want to buy a new house, due on sale? And then what if you stop making payments, or what if you don't want to, if you decide this was a bad investment? Those are usually kind of the three main ones.
Hey guys, I had a quick question. This came up today, if you don't mind.
Yeah, what's up, Rich?
I had never heard this before. The real estate agent was trying to tell me that the mortgage lender told the seller that he was not allowed to do any sort of creative deal. And I was like, hey, listen, like, I'm pretty sure a mortgage company wouldn't say that. I mean, and she sort of backed down a little bit because I was like kind of nice and like working around it. Have you heard of that before?
So my guess is this actually happened to me on a deal I was going to buy maybe like 3 months ago, where the wholesaler, because I wasn't a part, I was just buying this deal. Someone is assigning it to me. The wholesaler did a crappy job of explaining how the transaction was working. So the seller called his mortgage company, a VA loan, and he basically said, oh, they're doing a subject to, but I want to do assumption. The subject to, apparently this is staying in my name, and I thought they were going to assume the loan, but they don't want to do that. And then when that happened, that just brought up a bunch of red flags for me where I'm like, okay, bro, like we're signing cancellation document instantly.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, because they said, now that you said that, the real estate agent was like, the mortgage lender told him that everything needed to be out of his name. And I was like, well, I said, are you sure? Like, what if just the title's out of his name? Can his name still be on the mortgage? And she kind of didn't seem like she had she knew it was what she was talking about. But
yeah,
I mean, I kind of like talked her down a little bit and left it as a situation of, where she said to me, well, why don't you put something together in writing and we'll take a look at it, and at least bring it to his attention. So
yeah, we could totally still send an offer on that. Yeah, because to me it sounds like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I would say that the one thing I've also been finding with, and Alex and I've been dealing with this one guy throughout the day today via email, is they don't seem very forthwith to give a lot of that financial information out.
Yeah. Are you talking about like sending over a copy of the mortgage statement?
Well, definitely sending over a copy, but then just in general, like when I was like, I kind of asked this other woman, and she was like, oh yeah, well, why don't you just send this and we'll get that. I'm like, well, in order to send this, we kind of, in order to send a proposal, kind of like to know some numbers. And
yeah,
I don't know if she just wanted to get me off the phone or whatever, but
yeah,
because once she found out that we were trying to come in as investors, she was like, oh, well, but I said, it was a sort of an interesting situation too, because I really think we could have actually helped them, because the guy, it's a brand new house. It doesn't seem like he's trying to sell it. It seems like he's trying to sell it for more than it's valued. But at the same time, the whole family's gone. They're in California. The house is in Florida, and like it's just sitting there. There's no tenant, whatever. So it seems like a situation where that's ripe for like, hey, we can get you this price. Let's try this.
Gotcha. Yeah, and honestly, it literally could just be, in my opinion, the agent might just be. I don't want to say that. The agent honestly could just be trying to avoid that sort of transaction under their brokerage, and they're just trying to avoid it and not really have a full grasp or understanding of what sub 2 is in general. So
Right.
I think if we kind of get on a call and further explain things to her, that could be better. I think it's just like a lot of these agents will just kind of have a shield up because they don't really understand the whole premise of pitch of what we're exactly doing or trying to do.
Right.
Yeah, and there was something else I was going to say,
They're
but my
still
mind
getting
completely
paid.
blanked.
They're still getting
Right.
paid the
That's
same, right?
that's the thing. Yeah, they are getting. I mean, right. We're trying to pay their commission, right? So like, I think they're under the assumption that they're not going to get what's coming to them. And I'm trying to, and like I said, like I put up on the Discord earlier, and I guess this is kind of one of the things I learned as being a teacher. You know, a lot of different people, you have to try a lot of different ways to get them to understand stuff, right? Like what you say to one person may not work with the next person. So it's fun. It's kind of finding a creative way to get them to understand it. So like, these people, a couple of these people have just said no right off the bat, and I'm like, well, what if like we were able to get you this, that, and just trying different ways to say it. So, but I do think that they don't understand that I think they're like their first reflex is like no, no way, and because they think they're not getting paid.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, that's
this is Heather. I was wondering because I also got a lot of like, as soon as I asked them about the potential for cash, they were like, oh, and we're not interested in any creative deals. Like I had a couple of realtors say that out the gate before I could even say anything. And I'm wondering and one woman in particular was like, are you guys taking a seminar? Because the amount of people that I've had to add to this list to call back if we were to shift gears is, she was saying so long. And I'm wondering if maybe as many calls as they're getting, maybe the lenders are getting calls now about creative financing, and maybe they are going to start like warning their people that they don't want that.
Yeah, so I mean, I definitely say, as you've seen the sub 2, am I unmuted?
Hear you.
Yeah. So I've definitely seen the sub 2 community growing pretty rapidly. So have we all. And the thing is, with what we're doing is there's a low barrier to entry. So you're going to have a lot of agents getting calls from people. It's just separating yourself from the person, sort of like in one of those videos. Do you want to sound like the person who watched 2 Pace Morby videos on YouTube and is calling the agent and saying, hey, are you doing creative? Or are you kind of doing another approach of not really mentioning creative or sub 2 or any of that stuff, taking over the existing payments until you've kind of already built rapport and asked about the property and built a little bit of credibility?
But
And
that's
then
the
pivoted
thing.
into
I
it.
didn't even get a chance to say it at all. I never said
Yeah.
anything about that. I was just like essentially purchasing this property as a rental, and I was wondering if they're accepting cash offers. And they were like, yeah, we're considering cash offers, but we're not considering creatives because we've been getting so many calls. And I was like, okay, well, and then I just kept talking about cash because I didn't want to make them feel like I was calling for creative. And then when I would tell them my cash offer, of course, it would be lower than they would want to accept. And then I would say, well, if they're not willing to accept investor cash offers at this time, I understand, but if anything changes or if they decide they want to reconsider creative, maybe, we can talk then. And that's kind of how I had to approach it because they were already telling me before I could even say anything.
Yeah.
Hey, if I could just say something real quick. If you're getting hung up on or you're getting a lot of pushback, then you got to realize that it might be your tone. And I think the reason Alex has a lot of success is because even Jack, but Alex talks really slow and kind of tones it down. If you get on the phone and you're like, hey, I'm an agent and we do this, or we're an investor and we want to if you get too excited, everybody's excited nowadays and they've heard that too many times they're going to reject you. And a lot of times you just need to slow it down and talk to them slower and let them know that you're part of, you might even say that you're part of a professional team or a group of professionals or something like that, so they know that it's not just you, but you know what you're doing.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I do get what Heather's saying at the same time, though, because I even had that where I call. Well, it's funny though because I actually closed on one of these deals, but this OKC agent, he answers the phone. Hey, you're gonna talk about sub 2, aren't you, or something like that. He's like, I usually get like 10 calls a week. So one thing that's going to be a factor too is the location. For example, like that one's in Oklahoma City that I was working, which is a larger, more populated market. So there's going to be a little bit more saturation and competition there. But I was still able to kind of break the barrier of like, hey, I do these all the time, blah, blah, blah. And then now that agent has sent me 2 deals that I've closed on in like the last month and
I
a half.
had that too. Like I was able to turn them around, but my right now I'm calling Jacksonville, which is also probably a very saturated area.
Slightly larger market, yeah.
And it could be that. Like I was able to turn them around because I just focused on cash the entire time and talked about that. And like from the perspective of, you know, basically, you know, we have to kind of leave some area for us to make profit. And that's where investors are at this time. But, you know, I understood where the sellers were as well. So it did work out. Like I was able to get 2 leads today, but I just thought it was interesting the way they were like ready, like, oh yeah, we know you guys are calling about creative finance. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And that's just one thing that we're going to, you know, face and deal with. I mean, there's going to be definitely an influx of creative deals, just like we've seen the group growing because the economic environment, right? Interest rates were at historic lows for a decade and a half. And then now within the last year and a half, interest rates have shot up like mad. And then also add a combination of sub 2 and mentorships like that, then you're going to have more people kind of going into that industry. I really don't think still anything will happen. I still think we can still totally do these deals and it won't be a problem. It's just we're dealing with more competition because as industries change, you're going to have people, for example, like me, I was mainly doing cash deals like about a year ago. And then I pivoted into the creative stuff because the cash deals got a lot harder direct to seller with the economic environment, just the whole real estate market kind of changing with interest rates rising. So is there anything you want to add on that, Alex?
Yeah, I think one thing to just kind of remember is I really liked how Rich said that just know who you're talking to and cater to their language. And it's easier for someone you built rapport with to understand your offer over someone who you just try to bring up creative as soon as you get on the phone. You definitely want to have them agree that your cash offer is not valid. You don't have to give a number. You could simply say, well, the number I was coming up with for cash is fairly low. Have you received any other offers from investors? And just let them talk. You want to remember when you're on these phone calls, you want to remember that you're the customer and they're the ones that are supposed to be selling you on the property. It's not the other way. So just remember to build rapport and try to have the agent understand you, and remember that it's not always about that one listing. It's very important to remember that this is a relationship based business, and if you could make someone want to work with you in the future, they're going to bring you deals in the future.
Yeah, totally. No, well said. And it's just like, planting the seed. Like there's been agents before that I've dealt with where I'm like, hey, this one doesn't work, no problem. At least you have this tool in your tool belt now. And then we've spoken a bit. I've helped them out. I've educated them. And then they also sent some credibility for me, which helps as well too, from separating me from all the other people that call them pitching this stuff. So that's what I'm trying to do. Like with a couple deals I've done, I built good relationships with a handful of agents in like the OKC area and a little bit in Texas and Tucson as well, where I'm kind of helping them with sub 2 stuff, kind of educating them more so they can have it in their back pocket. And then hopefully in return, they're bringing all those leads that don't fit those traditional listing criteria to me to then close on. So even if you're speaking with someone, the conversation goes well, it doesn't work for that deal or the seller isn't open to it, that listing agent might reach back out to you in 2 months from now and say, oh, it was a great conversation we had. I remember you telling me about this opportunity. This looks like one where we list it. It's going to pretty much break even or the seller might end up cutting a check. Is this one you're interested in? So a lot of stuff like that. It's almost like a pipeline you're building out. You're building out a pipeline for future lead flow as well, just based off the relationships and conversations you're having today. Not saying the people who answer and instantly go, I'm not open to creative and hang up, those won't be, in the pipeline in the future, most likely. But the other ones that even just reject it and say, hey, this one doesn't work in this scenario, but they're open and interested. That's just something to add to the future pipeline there of potential lead flow.
Can I just add something real quick?
Yeah.
I noticed what works for me. I had a lady that told me that sub 2 made her skin crawl. So I was like, whoa, okay, why do you feel like that? And she started calming down and speaking to me. So I noticed a lot of people are very aggressive. So the more they're aggressive, perfect example. One lady was like almost yelling at me. So I told her that, did I call her the wrong time? Is there an emergency? And she's like, no. I'm like, the way you're talking, she's like, oh, I'm sorry. And she kind of calmed down. Like I made her realize, like, you're going a little too hard. Like you gotta relax. I noticed that works. The more aggressive, and you sit back and just be like, is something wrong? Then they realize, wait a minute, he thinks I'm in like panic mode, and then they kind of calm down. They check themselves. I realize that works.
That's a great point. I would just want to, now that you brought that up, I think something that maybe for you, Pierce, that you should apply in your future calls is to mirror the tone of whatever the agent is using. So if they're upbeat and seem really happy, be upbeat and seem really happy too. If they're chill and are talking slow, talk slow. If you mirror their language, it'll make them feel more comfortable with you and really help get you through your pitch.
Gotcha.
I 100% agree with what Alex just said. I've just kind of found it out to be true on the calls that I've been making as well. When I jump on a call and I'm, really energetic or anything like that, I've just kind of found agents to almost as if they smell desperation and smell newness or something like that, so they're kind of just immediately put off to it and can tell that, hey, this is somebody who just got motivated by watching some YouTube video and now he's trying to call me and do business, but he's not serious. Versus calls where, I'm just kind of more chill and I'm like, just kind of having basic conversations with them, not even talking numbers, or not being quick to talk numbers or anything like that, shooting the bull with them. If I can get an agent to do that first, I've found that when I mention something to do with numbers, they're so much more open to it and they're not, so much put off from the very beginning. So I just kind of wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it sounds like you've had some pretty good success speaking with these agents so far, Bailey. Yeah, that's a great point to add. And yeah, no, definitely tonality. And that's one thing, each of us are working on our own things and, trying to improve. One of my things that I have to work on as well, which I think I've told you about this, Alex, is sometimes I'll just start going like that and talking very quickly and just going numbers because I know this stuff where it's like some agent, the first time they're hearing this, they're not super used to it and they're like, whoa, wait a second, kind of pull it back. And then obviously I realize that though and change the tonality. But I've noticed that before where I've lost people because they don't really understand it and this is their first time hearing it. So yeah, the tonality and how you're explaining things is huge as well too. And another thing, you definitely don't want to make it seem like you're reading off a script as well too. I mean, I know we said that in the videos that we recorded, but yeah. Anything else you wanted to add to that? Or go ahead.
Yeah, and talking really fast. I have a habit of talking really fast, so I realized I had to slow down.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would even do the whole hold on, my computer's moving a little slow, so everyone could take a breather, and I could like look at the script real quick. Like I use stuff like that to slow them down because sometimes they just want to hurry up and get you off the phone because he's like Belly was saying that they can hear that you're new to the space. Some of them can hear that, so they automatically start going into this. Oh, okay, yeah, you're talking about that. Okay, bye. So sometimes I kind of slow them down a little bit. Like, give me a second. My computer's acting up, and it kind of makes them relax a little bit.
Yeah. Anything you wanted to add on that, Alex, or should we just continue kind of going down the list and I guess sort of just like an open-ended Q&A right now and just sharing experiences and whatnot? Does anyone else want to chime in with anything they had trouble with or any questions?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Cool. Yeah, what's up?
So I was on the phone today and I was talking to this guy who the house was actually in pre-foreclosure. And for whatever reason, he's a broker, he said, rather than an agent. And he said that in Texas, it's illegal to do a sub 2 without informing the lender or the mortgage broker before doing it, and I wasn't sure if that was true, but I couldn't get past that because they just kept saying the same thing. And I tried to look it up, but I couldn't find anything while I was on the phone. So I was wondering if you guys had any insight into that one.
I'm not an attorney, and this is not legal advice, but no, that is not true. To my knowledge, that's not true at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering what a good way might be to prove him wrong without making him feel like an idiot.
Yeah, that's yeah, so let me think here. That's true. You don't want to set him up and piss him off.
There's third party, and you might have to fib a little, but if you could explain to them that there are deals happening, like I think you definitely have to disclose it. I don't think you have to disclose it to the mortgage and the lender, but I know you definitely have to disclose it to obviously the agent and the seller and let them know what they're getting themselves involved in.
Yeah. None of it affects the lender. The lender has the legal right to call the note due in any state. It's legal. It's a breach of contract law, which doesn't mean it's illegal. So a breach of contract law is what sub 2 is. So, and then in the contract, it literally states that the mortgage holder or lender has the ability to accelerate the note if title/deed has transferred. So that's essentially all it is. You don't have to let the mortgage lender know, though, that you're doing it at all, because then if you did, then they may accelerate the note. That's just a risk that both parties are willing to take, me as the buyer and then the seller as well. And that's all signed and disclosed in our sub 2 addendums that the seller signs at closing or before closing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sonny mentioned if they could show you where they found that is another great way to kind of handle that objection. If they're not really able to show you where they found that information, it's
yeah.
Yeah, this is Sunny. I just wanted to expand upon that just a little bit. And if they're not able to share with you where they got that information, maybe somebody had told them, maybe it's actually a policy. If they're a realtor, it's a policy of that particular real estate group or organization that we in our policy here, we're not allowing our real estate people to do those kinds of deals. And so it may be an easy way for them to just say, trying to shut it down because either somebody's told them or it's a policy, not a rule, not a regulatory requirement.
Yeah. Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a very valid point because I've had some realtors tell me before that their brokerage will not allow this transaction to take place. So there was like one that I closed on recently that was direct to agent essentially, but the agent was about to list it, but before he listed it, he ran it by me and we paid him through escrow as a management fee outside of his brokerage because his brokerage didn't want to be a part of that transaction. Usually you can, like there's another one I'm working on right now where I'm getting the brokerage in touch with one of my closing attorneys that we've closed on before. And then I sent them over a bunch of information. They'll be cool with it. They just need kind of more explanation and understanding on that specific deal and understanding how sub 2 works and that it's completely legal. Cause I just think, it is newer to some of these agents and brokerages. And then, yeah, also as well too, the way you explained it, without trying to be offensive. And that's one thing with tonality. Like Sonny, you sounded really great in terms of what you said right there, where I'm like, okay, I could totally see an agent being like, oh yeah, maybe I misheard it or don't really understand this. When, you question them, but the terms are, what's the best way to go about presenting information to them without making them feel like an idiot, which I forgot he said that a couple minutes ago, but that's another important thing too. You want to make sure you're being open and not saying, hey, you're incorrect. Well, where did you hear that from? Well, that's probably a slight misunderstanding because this is actually how it works. I have other agents I work with that can totally hop on the call with you. And we just closed one last week with them, this and this and this. And then you could start leveraging. Well, if we do get to a point like that, Alex or I could hop on the phone with them And then if it comes to a point where we need to leverage our connections as well too, I can have other agents that I've closed deals on before get on the phone and explain it, as well as attorneys and whatnot too. Preferably not attorneys though, because that might get costly, but definitely other agents.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, importance, this is Sunny again, importance to come across with curiosity. You want to learn more about them and learn about, why are they selling, and what's their concerns, and, their perspective, and learn about them more so than anything else. So that curiosity really needs to come across in your tone of voice.
Yeah, most definitely. And that's one of those things, like I was saying earlier too, something that separates you from everyone else that's calling, right? I know it's going to vary. Some agents aren't going to get a lot of, hey, are you open to sub two kind of scenarios? Some are going to get a lot. It's going to vary per market, per agent, per listing. But if you're able to separate yourself from the other people that are calling, that's great. Whether it's more of like the credibility, because I kind of go more of like a credibility stern approach of like, hey, I do this all the time, blah, 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 making them feel comfortable and not just sounding like a random person who, like I said, just learned this and is just calling them. Then there's also the other side of things of, okay, I'm building rapport and an open connection with this agent, and not just sounding like, hey, I want to get in and off the phone really quick with them, and not trying to build some sort of rapport / credibility there. So I think doing something that kind of separates yourself from the pack is huge too. And that's a great example of something you can do.
Cool. So I think if we can convince this guy or make him realize that he's not quite correct, there's potential here because they are in pre-foreclosure. Whoa, can't speak right now. Because they are in pre-foreclosure. So they're going to lose the house anyway. So
yeah.
I don't know.
Where's this one at?
Am I able to say that I quote unquote checked with my team and our attorneys said that it might actually be legal, and that it's you may have misheard that. Can I say that on your attorney's behalf?
Yeah, totally.
And
yeah.
Okay. That brings up a even bigger question in that situation. I'm thinking, when you guys do a sub two deal, do you bring the mortgage current, or is that too much?
You do. You have to reinstate it.
Yeah.
So you do bring it current.
So isn't that a leverage point? You can talk to the agent and say, hey, look, we're going to get you out of foreclosure if you do this deal with us, right?
Yeah. So that's a huge leverage point too. I think it's just once this agent can get over the hurdle of misunderstanding and not knowing how this works, it could be a great solution.
That's why it wouldn't be illegal, because the mortgage would be current.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, basically the way I'm looking at it is it's totally legal anyway.
Right.
So there's one thing that I've been trying to go into deeply: contract law and criminal law. So subject to is contract law, which isn't illegal. Like that's why so many people do sub twos, because it's not illegal. But when you're breaking contract law, then theoretically you can have the due on sale clause called on you because you breached contract law. And that was one of the statements in the contract stating if a change in title happened, that lender can call the note due in full. Whereas criminal law is, I've been consulting with a lot of attorneys recently on some deals I'm closing because I'm buying them in land trusts. And there's some questions there in gray areas with the land trust where it's like, okay, well, what if you're creating it in this manner with the intention of doing this? Or what if I'm doing this with the intention of doing this?
Right.
To
Illegal is like a catch-all phrase that doesn't actually mean it's actually not like you're not going to go to jail because of a contract. You're going to get fined maybe or whatever.
Yeah. And that's what we have the addendums for. So the addendums in there, when we're closing, the buyer and the seller are literally signing off stating, I have one that I just closed on. I could pull that up, the exact verbiage, but it's literally stating, hey, me as the seller claims that and knows that, hey, if this goes into foreclosure, I am 100% responsible for it. If this happens, I'm 100% responsible. I know that there is a risk of due on sale. Like it says it in bold, and they sign off on it in the sub two addendums from the Pace Morby group. Those are the contracts that Pace has, those addendums. So both the buyer and seller sign those, and everyone is totally aware. So if the due on sale clause did happen, of course, there's a bunch of remedies to cure it, and it's usually not a big deal. But all parties are aware of that. And yeah, I think this agent just needs a little more of an explanation and maybe some videos on it and how it works, and maybe even connecting with another agent in Texas that has closed on him, just to, I guess, build a little more credibility and explain it to them. But yeah, with the pre-foreclosure in place too, it's like the time is ticking. Hey, if we don't sell this one, the agent's not going to get its commission, and two, the seller's going to be in a really, really, really bad spot. So that's kind of leverage points there for us to be able to come in with this solution to try to help them out.
Okay.
Yeah. So did you send us the info on that one, Griffin, by chance, or you said you just saw it today? Griffin, you're muted. Or I'm not sure if you heard me.
Yeah, I was muted. Sorry.
No
I did not send anything quite yet. I was about to text the guy, see what he says about it.
Yeah.
But as soon as I hear a response, I can figure things out. I haven't actually submitted any leads yet. I've just been sending like the LOI emails, trying to get the mortgage statement, and then from there I can submit the stuff. But on this specific deal, I haven't sent anything yet.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, just let us know once we need to kind of step in there and further explain things, or actually send something out in writing to them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if from my assumption, just based on the conversation that we already had early today, I don't think he's gonna actually listen to what I'm gonna say, because he kept saying like, "Oh, I'm a broker, not an agent." And the way he was coming off, he's like, "I know more than agents / I know more than, basically what you're trying to tell me right now." So I feel like he's going to try to stick to his guns here. So if you do have like a piece of paper or like a thing from your attorney, I have a feeling that that's going to be needed for this specific case.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, where it's like, is something worth chasing and just moving on to the next? And it's like, how much time and how much of our resources is this going to take for maybe a potential, let's explore this further? It's different if it's like, hey, we have, like, there's one I'm working on currently where basically everyone's on board. It's just, hey, we need an attorney to make sure if I default that the seller's good and it gets deeded back, and she wants their attorney to draft up contracts, where it's like, okay, we're at least somewhere with that where everyone's on board. It's just like the closing documents and making sure everything's secure. Whereas, hey, let's bring an attorney on just to tell this guy that sub 2 is legal.
Well, I think in that case, it sounds more like he just needs a buddy of any caliber to help give him a little more legitimacy.
Totally.
So I'm sure one of you guys on a call would be able to close that kind of a deal.
Yeah. Definitely give more inside information on it. I mean, some people are just 100% dead set. Hey, you can't do this. You can't do this. And then it's just, I mean, what do you think about that, Alex?
Yeah, I think it's worth attempting to see if the agent might hear the offer out. If not, there's so many opportunities out there. It's okay to just move on and go on to the next deal.
Gotcha.
Was there anything else from anyone then? Any updates on how it's going so far? Any questions, anything like that? Unless you wanted to touch on something specifically, Alex, as well.
Or just any suggestions that you guys feel like we could either give you some more support with, or make the community and process a little smoother for you.
I don't have any questions about support because it's been going pretty decently. But I did want to ask. So today I submitted a lead based on the fact that they were asking for more information on the company. Is that something that should be submitted as a lead, or should it be submitted a different way?
Usually in terms of lead submission, we're looking for something that's either, here's all the information we have, PITI, remaining mortgage balance, everything like that, so me and Alex can write up an offer. If it's something like that, you can always shoot us a message. But as we're kind of building this out, one thing that we should do is kind of create like a frequently commonly asked questions where it's like, hey, can I have more information about your company? We're a group of private investors, or, you know, and then I guess we could just reference our LLC and then show HUDs as well on deals we've closed in the past. That's one of them. And then shoot, there was another question. I think we could start building out a list like that of like frequently asked questions and answers, rather than just the objection list of, hey, if the agent says, what is this, and answer that. I guess we could kind of build upon that list then. I think that's something we could add, right, Alex?
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah. And then another thing too, I'm thinking is in terms of having concrete terminology and what is a lead and what should be submitted to that Google form for a lead.
This guy was asking for email. He was like, email me some data on your company, and he's going to basically get the information, because he had given me some of the information, but he didn't have all the details. But I guess he felt like he didn't want to give too much information without having the stuff that, like what you're saying. So in that instance, would I email him that from my email address, or would you guys just, I would shoot you a message and you would just send him the email with that information?
Yeah, you could shoot us a message, because we have templates and credibility emails from the Sub2 group, so we could totally we could totally email him.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Anything else here before we kind of wrap things up? If anyone has any questions or suggestions, maybe a topic we could go over on the next meeting. I don't know if we want to review pre-recorded calls, look at comping, look at exit strategies. Because I definitely want to do like open Q&A for a decent amount of time, but then maybe have a specific topic for each meeting we do as well on other things. Anyone have suggestions or ideas on that?
I do have a question. This is Sunny.
Yeah.
So when we get rolling, I'm new to this group here. And so when we get rolling on the phone calls, so if I have any questions, I'm guessing that I jump on Discord and shoot them over to you.
Yeah, totally. So we have a questions tab in Discord where you can answer it. I mean, ask any sort of questions and we'll answer them in there. Also, too, I posted in there, if something's super urgent, you know, you could always call one of us as well, too. But typically, yeah, we'll be pretty active in Discord and be able to answer any sort of questions that pop up there. And then I'll probably frequently be in and out of the Discord chat other than scheduled calls. So right now, we're definitely probably going to keep this a consistent call, Tuesdays at this time, and then also probably Saturday morning as well. Maybe throw another day in there, too, at the end of the week as well. Yeah, I'm usually pretty responsive. So is Alex. So yeah, we could get an answer pretty quickly.
So are you guys the closers? Are you the ones that are going to do the contract?
Correct. In terms of the contract, as of now, yes, but we have TCs on. But well, I guess we're probably going to be funneling it most off to our TCs, because I've TC'd a couple of my own deals and it's not fun. So
if we want to get to that point, I understood on one of your chats, that if once we've gotten 3 really good deals through, that we can learn more. Because one of the things I struggled with so far in sub 2 is that I couldn't find somebody that could show me how to do it. Because I've never been in real estate before, and I just need a little bit of that visual coaching.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, honestly, that's kind of like the objective of this group too, because it's like, hey, getting your feet wet with the calling and whatnot too. Then it's like, hey, if you have this lead, then we underwrite it, and you could totally see the process of how we underwrite it and whatnot too. And then like we could totally go through everything in terms of the deal. And then we're going to have these meetings as well too, where we'll cover specific topics and things like that too. So it's not just going to be, hey, you guys are just making calls, you find the lead, pass it off to us, and you never hear from us again.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how we're trying to make it, to be pretty hands-on and kind of like you know, very informative as well too.
Yeah, and then just one thing to touch on is we want to show you all the steps from A to Z. So when it comes to hopping on calls with agents with you, like we're so open to doing that, and we want to do that. So you could kind of hear how we talk to these agents on the phone, and you could kind of learn what we're doing that works and use it to your advantage.
Yeah. So that's kind of one of the ways I was like viewing this and looking at it. This like, hey, the whole goal is to kind of build up and have everyone grow together and whatnot. So it's more of like a kind of like a, I don't want to call it a mentorship, but like a group where, hey, it's not just the idea is, hey, you're cold calling and that's it. It's, hey, I can learn all this stuff. And that 3 deal thing is kind of just thrown out there in terms of like, hey, once you do 3, that's probably where you're at a point of like, hey, I feel like I've learned a lot of this stuff and feel comfortable doing this. Maybe there's more opportunity within this where I can be doing some sort of position, maybe helping with closing or doing something else, or, you know, some sort of other manner. That was just kind of thrown out there broadly in that video because we're just kind of building out this team over the last week. So we're still kind of figuring things out, of course, as we're going. Yeah. Any other questions or comments from anyone?
Well, I definitely like the idea of the group helpfulness or the group that you're creating. It's a good idea because I see a lot of entrepreneur groups and there's not a point of entry. So I think that's real smart what you're building right here.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Anything from anyone else before we kind of wrap it up here? All right. Anything you want to add, Alex?
Just don't get held up on a bad phone call. If you need to take a break, a 5-minute break, 10-minute break, do it and go back to cranking out those calls. Don't let one red agent scare you off from this. It's a numbers game, man. You can't really expect to get your first deal tomorrow. It's kind of a thing where you're gonna have to touch with the agent maybe 10 times before you're getting that deal under contract. So just remember that first call is just an intro call. You want to see what they're open to. You want to get know their vibe and how you could really work with them.
Yeah. No, well said, man. And yeah, that's one thing too, not letting things discourage you because of course there's a learning curve with everything, and also it's just momentum as well too. Like it probably took me 3 to 4 months, just over a year ago when I started this stuff to get my first deal. And then after that, then it was like, you know, whatever, multiple a month. And then now it's kind of pivoted into, okay, I'm buying and holding these and doing wraps. And the whole goal is just buying these myself. Whereas 99, not 99, a lot of people, probably close to 99, especially when you look in that free Facebook group and you see 120,000 members, how many of those people do you think join the group, explore it for a week or two, maybe make some cold calls, and they're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot harder than I thought, and then quit, and you never hear from them again, and they were super fired up about real estate for 1 week, but then when they realized, hey, this is harder than what I thought it was going to be, they quit. And that's the thing too, if real estate was super easy, then everyone would be doing it, and people would not be working jobs because they'd just be doing real estate, you know? So it's definitely something that is going to be a grind, and you got to learn and just deal with the rejection and be able to overcome it and just really just keep chugging along and looking at it from the perspective of not day to day, more so of week to week. Like if you're looking at the days, it's going to up and down like this, but then when you zoom out and you look at it from like an annual perspective, it's, you know, you're just going straight up like that and you're not noticing the dips. So like what Alex said as well too, don't let a couple bad interactions or calls really affect you. And yeah, we're always here for help and questions and whatnot as well too.
Cool. Well, I think we could wrap it up right there, Jack. And we really appreciate everyone staying with us, and we look forward to closing some deals with all of y'all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome, guys. We'll keep you guys posted on when the next meeting will be. It might be Saturday, definitely at that time, or maybe we'll do one sooner. We'll see about that. And yeah, we'll definitely stay connected in the chat.
All right.
All right. Everybody be safe. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Take care, everyone.
Have a good night.